Wowee, Japan get the result against Scotland, 28 points to 21. What a game. Easily match of the tournament so far. Wow, incredible. What I'm going to do is drop my initial reactions just after the game, give you all of my thoughts and all of the details. Kia ora everyone, my name is Zach, I love rugby. Welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. We're going to do a very, very quick recap, review and revise of this match, this Pool A deciding match. Now we've got a lot to cover. I've covered a lot of notes. I'm going to keep referring to the notes as we go through. But where I want to start, firstly, there was so much on the line in this match. It was just, the whole build-up was very, very dramatic. We had typhoons. We weren't sure if the game was going ahead. If it was going to be cancelled, then Scotland were going to take legal action. There was just a lot of drama. Even up until this morning, I checked the news and there was no decision yet made on whether or not this game would go ahead. By 10:30, 11 o'clock local time, the decision was made. The game is going ahead. And when you think about it, at that stage as well, we started to get some images of the devastation that had been caused by the typhoon. So it just gave it that little bit of extra meaning. I know that we've all been so invested in this Rugby World Cup and we really wanted to see it go ahead. But seeing some of those images really brought it home that safety is paramount to anything else, that there is devastation at hand here and some things are bigger than rugby. But the game was deemed to go ahead and that was incredibly satisfying news to hear. Then we get into the pre-match. Now, watching the pre-match build-up, there was one scene where I saw the Japanese team walking off their pre-match build-up. They were going into the sheds ready for their briefings before the match. And they were all standing there hand in hand, led by Michael Leach. And that to me was just such a symbol of unity, not only for the Japanese rugby team, but for a nation that is dealing with the ravages of a natural disaster. So, you know, you just started to get those butterflies in the stomach, and it really started to feel like there's something special about to happen here. And it did. I mean, the game did not disappoint at all. What an incredible match it was. So, early stages. Pre-match, my predictions, and those who follow the channel will know, I originally thought Japan would win, and then I changed my mind towards Scotland. And the main reason that I did that is I just thought this battle would come down to the speed and skill and continuity of Japan up against the game management of Scotland. The ability to kick tactically, the ability to apply pressure, and the ability to force errors at stages. And that's something Japan has proven, Scotland have proven they're very, very good at. So that's where I thought the difference would be in going into what is essentially a knockout stages game. I mean, we get a quarterfinal match early, essentially, in this match. Going into this match, knockout rugby is very different and game management becomes key, as well as the ability to take points. And that's something Scotland and guys like Stuart Hogg have proven that they could do. So that was pre-game. That was essentially how I thought it would be. What we got in the early stages, however, the first 10 minutes really was Scotland on top with exactly that approach. They were kicking tactically and very, very successfully, putting the ball in behind the wingers, kicking it into the territory of Japan. And the first try was really built on exactly that. It was a kick that went in behind the Japanese wingers, and Scotland were able to grab the ball and run through it for an excellent, excellent try. So it started to shape that tactical kicking and game management was going to be paramount. But then immediately Japan hit back. They hit back with, you know, their back line, their forwards, their interplay. They've got some of the best skills in handling in the game, and they proved that, right? So they just continued to attack successfully. It didn't seem like they were making any errors. They were going from left to right on the field and really putting pressure on that Scottish defence. One thing that I thought was very, very telling, the tactic of just moving from the left wing side of the field to the right wing, using the full width of the field. And what we started to notice is Stuart Hogg in the back there, having to cover the full length of the field as a fullback. That's very, very difficult to do. So Japan started to get some real continuity in their play. They essentially hit back very, very quickly in terms of responding with a try of their own. But that tactic of just moving the ball from left to right and making the fullback move from left to right meant that the fullback had to cover a significant amount of distance. And once the kicking game started to get effective, Tim Lafayette I thought was incredible. We know how good the Japanese wingers are, and what they really need is someone who can provide that link between forwards, fly halves, centre, and into the wingers. And sometimes that means a great offload, which he did a number of times. Other times that means a little chip in behind. So if we put those two factors together, one, Japan playing this tactic of left-to-right rugby, and two, Tim Lafayette with options of offload as well as chip through. There was one try where Tim Lafayette chipped it through. Fukuoka collected and was able to run through for the try. And that was all built on exactly that tactic. Hogg was not able to cover the distance fast enough, and that was because of he was having to cover significant distance on the right side and the left side of the field, and as such he wasn't there in time. The kick was great from Lafayette, and Fukuoka with the finish was incredible. So based on that, Japan went into the halftime with a very, very telling, significant lead, 21 points to 7. And I remember messaging my friends at that point saying, I think the game's over. I think if we look at these two tactics of game management versus Japan, it felt like Scotland started to abandon that tactic of, effective strategic kicking and tactical play, and they were drawn into a shootout, essentially trying to match the Japanese speed, continuity, and flair. And anytime you're drawn off your game plan, I think it is very, very telling, right? It basically suggests that one team who is having success with their game plan are essentially on top, and the opposing team is trying to replicate the similar style of play and strategy. So I thought that was one where you just look at it and you go, Japan is on top here, and Scotland are following the lead of Japan. Now, into the second half, the same theme continued. The only difference is that a guy like Jamie Ritchie, he had an incredible game. He managed to secure 3 crucial turnovers, sometimes when they were defending on their own line. 2 of his major turnovers were literally Japan 5 meters, 10 meters out, attacking the Scottish line, and Jamie Ritchie came up huge with the turnovers. So he was significant in that early part of the second half. And then Scotland, although conceding the first try in the second half, were very, very good in that second half. They came back, and that even though they were drawn into a Japanese style of play, it started to become quite effective for them. They were able to score 2 tries. And then the game became very tight with 20 minutes left to play. At that point in time, I would have liked to have seen Scotland draw back into their style of play, of tactical kicking, of ability to game management. They didn't. They continued to try to score tries, and unfortunately came up with a number of errors towards the death there. Japan, through their defense, excellent defense, were able to hold on. So, wow, what a match. So great, and excellent to see Japan come through. I mean, it's the first time that an Asian team has now made a quarterfinal of a Rugby World Cup. Japan go through undefeated in pool play. Who would have thought that could happen? And, they've just been absolutely incredible. So this is going to be the great story of this Rugby World Cup. Players who I thought were significant. Actually, one more thing I'll say on the overall game. I thought between the referee, the TMO, and his touchies, they really let this game play, right? Whether it be from in terms of the contest area, whether it be in terms of contact, the breakdown, the ruck, etc. He really gave a little bit of leniency there, which meant that the team could really play. There were a lot less significant breaks in this game than we've seen in many of the other games in this World Cup. And I think that's testament to the way that Ben O'Keefe officiated this game. Great work from him, and I think that's a lot more positive on how we want to see these games officiated. Let the team decide on the field, right? If there are issues in terms of the contact or at the breakdown, if they are not significant issues, if they are issues that cannot be mitigated by the defence, then let the game flow. And we saw that today, and we got one of the great games of the tournament as a result. I hope World Rugby takes that on board, and I hope they continue that style of refereeing. Okay, the standout performers. Jamie Ritchie, I've mentioned, incredible. He managed to get a number of breaks as well, which resulted in putting Scotland on the front foot. And early in the second half, he was huge. I mean, part of the reason they were on top is because of some of the great work by Jamie Ritchie. Yutaka Nagare, the halfback. Oh, he was great. So he very, very quick, and he was able to ignite that back line. And that back line want to have great, quick-flowing, fast ball. He was able to deliver that. Very, very quick with ball in hand as well. So he was excellent performer today. We have to talk about Fukuoka. Obviously, he got man of the match in this one. But I do think a big reason why both Fukuoka and Matsushima seem to stand out is the great work done by Tim Lafaele. Those who follow the channel know that I'm a big fan of Tim Lafaele, and part of the reason is he provides that critical link to allow the wings to play. He can set them off with an offload or a chip through, which he proved in this. If you go back and look at those first couple or 3 tries that Japan scored, a lot of them are off the back of the great work done by Tim Lafaele. The last mentioned great player, Michael Leach. What a man, what a player, what a captain. He has led this team again to the new step in the World Cup. They've beaten Ireland, South Africa, and Scotland, and they move forward into a World Cup. Now, he was dropped for the Irish game, and for a captain, that must be very, very hard pill to swallow, but he came back and applied himself. And make no mistake, he is the spiritual leader of this Japanese team. They follow him. As I mentioned earlier, there was a real unity around the players all standing there hand in hand, demonstrating their unity. And who was at the front of the arrowhead? Michael Leach. He is the spiritual leader of this team, and he's leading them to great feats. So excellent work from him. Where I'll close this, he had a great speech at the end of the match. And he said a couple of words that really, really stuck with me. He said they are representing Asia, they are representing Japan, and they are representing Tier 2 nations. And not only that, they're going to give it everything they have in the next couple of games. That says a lot about the mentality of this team, right? While there is an expectation on them, they are there to do their best, and they're doing the best on behalf of their people. Fantastic stuff. But not only that, he said next couple of games. So they are not going into this quarterfinal with anything less than confidence that they can move forward. And I believe on that performance, all teams have got to be concerned about this Japanese team. Now, can they go on to beat a team like South Africa? That remains to be seen. Remember, before the World Cup, they played out. I think South Africa won by about 30 points in that one. So can they get on top of the South African team? Let's see. I mean, there is a significant amount of pressure on South Africa to perform in this. Japan can throw everything at them with the weight of a nation behind them at their home World Cup. And you know what? The most important thing when it comes to knockout rugby, the number one thing is to be there. And they are there. They have a chance. And now they have to take their opportunity, a little bit of good luck, and a lot of skill and a lot of determination, and anything can happen. I'm going to close it off there, guys. Oh, what a game. I've had a few beers. I'm enjoying the rugby. What a great game. Now, the competition, I'll wrap it all up tomorrow. We do have a very, very clear winner who I'll announce tomorrow. Thank you to everyone who entered. We're going to run regular competitions here as well, so keep involved. Keep in the discussion. Tell me what you thought of the game. Are there any key points that I missed? Did you see it coming? Now, I know some of the predictions, and I know who have predicted Japan based on the competition, but did you see this coming, and what did you think were the most telling points, and how do you think they can do against South Africa? Let me know. That's it from Hakatime Rugby, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you in the next one.